Peter, I'll start with you because it's the obvious question, right? Does Rick Perry have any chance? And if he doesn't, why is he doing this again?
Well, obviously, it's going to be a much bigger hill for Rick Perry to climb this time around because he ran in 2012 and he didn't run all that well. He had that famous oops moment on the debate stage and it was downhill from there. But you got to remember, Betty, at one point, he was the front runner. He was at 28% in the polls, and the reason for that is because of his experience in Texas, his 14 years as Texas governor, the story he could tell there, and there's still in this crowded field a chance for Rick Perry to distinguish himself this time around. Yes, it's going to be an uphill fight, much more difficult than last time, but he has an opportunity. The question is, can he somehow show that he's a more polished, more ready candidate than he was in 2012?
So, Ron, I love what Mark Halperin and John Heilemann, they wrote this story about, what does Rick Perry have and what does he lack? And what he's got, they noted, among many things, is he's got strong job creation in Texas. He's a social conservative. He has true governing experience, obviously governing Texas for so long. But what does he lack, Ron? What's his biggest weak point?
Well, good afternoon, Betty. I think one of his biggest weak points is going to be how does he distinguish himself from the other candidates who are in the field, those who have gubernatorial experience, those who, like Lindsey Graham, have strong foreign policy experience. How is he going to break through the pack and say, notwithstanding the fact that I've been governor of Texas for 14 years, how am I different? And I think one of the things that he's going to point to is his service in the United States Air Force. And we'll see in a few moments the backdrop that he is down there in Texas behind a C-130. He is going to be surrounded by a couple of Army veterans, Marcus Luttrell, famously from Lone Survivor. And I think he's going to say, I'm the one, not only is a strong governor and a great economic state, but I have strong military background that we're going to need in 2016 to move America forward. I think that's what he's going to try to do to distinguish himself.
Peter, who could he beat in this Republican field easily?
Well, Betty, you got 10 candidates now. You could have 20. He could beat a whole host of them and still finish way back in the pack. So the reality is he needs to move up out of the second tier. And that's where he is right now. And that's sort of an optimistic assessment maybe where he is, given some of the polling, some of the early states. He's barely registering in New Hampshire, for example. Yeah. He's focusing a lot of his attention in Iowa. And I think that's where you need to really watch his campaign. He's made a big investment there. If he can surprise some people, do well in Iowa, then just maybe Rick Perry can be a surprise in this race. But it is going to be a challenge for him. Some of the people who gave money to his campaign last time around have already given money to other candidates. So this is a challenge for him. But again, it's a deep field, and to some extent that gives everyone a better opportunity.
Okay, I want to turn to Jeb Bush because, guys, let's show the tweet that Jeb Bush issued today or tweeted out saying that, wait, there's going to be an announcement on June 15th. Another Bloomberg Politics poll I thought was quite interesting because the big overhang for Jeb Bush is going to be, the legacy, right? The Bush legacy, guys. In this poll, 57% said that it would be, quote, mostly good for Jeb Bush to turn to his brother, George W., Mr. W., for advice. Compare that to Hillary Clinton, where 83% said it would be mostly good for her to tap Bill's advice. Ron, what do you make of that?
Well, I think there are a lot of people who are still very concerned about why President Bush took America to war and the aftermath in Iraq and Afghanistan. But I still do believe that a majority of the American people think it's a strength if you have a brother, if you have a spouse who's been president of the United States. There are the unique challenges, there are the unique pressures of being president, and I think it's a good thing, frankly, to have the ability to turn to someone with that experience with such a small group of living presidents still with us today.
Peter, can Jeb Bush win the states that Romney lost?
I think he can, and part of it is because he's going to have a whole lot of money to try and get his message out there. At least that's the expectation when he reports from this first couple of months of fundraising. Jeb Bush has unique challenges, one of them being the Bush name, but as we just discussed, that could also be a positive to some extent. But he's going to have to showcase himself in certain states where right now it's going to be a challenge. He's going to have his opportunity more so than Iowa early on, maybe New Hampshire. If he doesn't do really well in New Hampshire, then the Jeb Bush train is in trouble. Yeah. And, of course, he's got his home state of Florida where he's going to be going toe-to-toe with Marco Rubio. Betty, you could make the case that Florida could decide the race for Jeb Bush altogether.
It could, his home state. So, Ron, I pose that question to you. How does Jeb Bush do better than Mitt Romney?
Well, I think he has a fundraising juggernaut that, given his brother and given his father, that he'll be able to tap into. He'll have the staff, he'll have the resources, and he'll have the ability to get on the air and to travel around the same states that Governor Romney did. And if his infrastructure is in place and if his message takes hold, I think he has a chance to do better than Governor Romney did. But let me also agree with what Peter said. I think it is critical for Governor Bush, particularly in Iowa and New Hampshire. He's got to be number 1 or number 2 in those 2 states, because if he goes down to South Carolina wounded, not doing as well as expected, I think his candidacy would be in serious trouble.
And Ron, what do you make of the fact that there are 10 candidates now? What are the party elders within the GOP? What do they think of how crowded it already is getting? I mean, this is a repeat of 2012 and 2008.
But you know, Betty, I think it's a good thing that we have a crowded field. I think that there are certain people, obviously, in the 2nd and 3rd tiers that aren't going to make it. But what the American people are seeing is a very diverse field, a very young group of candidates that are out there with a wide range of experience. And I think when you contrast that with the Democrats, with the presumptive coronation of Secretary Clinton, I think the American people are going to have the ability to hear these candidates, see what their vision is moving forward, and make an informed choice, rather than just having 1 or 2 people to look at.
Betty, you can just imagine how challenging it's going to be to keep some of those candidates off the debate stage. If it's truly based on national polling, it's going to be an interesting, fascinating challenge for these candidates to raise their stature in the national polls, perhaps to the detriment of where they stand in some of those individual states. They may have to spend money nationally just to get in the poll numbers up so they can actually be on the debate stage.